Alright, what's up, guys? Just gonna give it a minute, see if anybody would like to join. Okay, so let's get into the basics of DFS. One of the main things is obviously managing your balance. Now, depending on what you're working with, it all depends on what you should play at night. Now, typically, you don't want to play more than like 10% of your balance depending on what you're working with. And also, like contest selection. Contest selection is key. If you're one of those people that's just going to chase the GPP every night, then more power to you. But more often than not, you're probably going to deposit more than you withdraw if you're going to do it that way. Now, how I usually play is I'll play like either the 70-30, 80-20%, or 60-20-20. Now, what that means is 80% cash games, 20% GPP. So let's say you're playing $10 a night. Now, what you're going to want to do is play $8 in cash games such as double ups, 50-50s, 3-mans, 5-mans, whatever. Those are the cash games where around 45, a little bit more than 45% of the field will cash, which is a lot better than your odds at playing a GPP where only around 20% of the field that cashes. Now, 3 and 5 mans, depending on what one and the structure of the payouts, you can sometimes triple your money that way. Most of the time, if you're playing the 3-man, you might triple your money, or if, like, say you play a dollar one and you win, you come in first, you'll win $2.70, which is good, and you only got to beat 2 people. Much better odds than trying to beat 20,000 people within a GPP. Now, so that's like bankroll management and contest selection. So, which is great to know. Now, a couple other things is you kind of want to like look at the whole week ahead and see what slates are coming up and see the games during those slates and see who you might like, what slate you might like to play, games you like to target, matchups that look like great matchups. So, maybe there's a night you want to go a little bit heavier than others, but basically stick to the same structure that you go through every night and you'll end up getting a positive ROI. If you don't know what ROI is, it's a return on investment. Okay, so now we're going to get into my spreadsheet a little bit. Now, obviously, this is not for the upcoming day on Thursday. This is I believe this was the last big slate that was played before the All-Star break. No, yeah, it was the last day before because it was only a 3-game slate that time. So I pulled from a different couple of sites to get a lot of these stats. So first thing that we go over is obviously this is the player column right here so that you can see. Now, the player column that you see, and oh, why did I just do that? Okay. What's going on? So, player column, obviously, DraftKings position, main position played. Now this is from the position percentage page that I have, which shows the percentage each player plays at each position. Now what I did is I ended up putting a formula in that goes through each position and shows you. Why is it doing this right now? Like I don't wanna be doing that. Okay. Alright. Sorry about that. I had a little mix up and I didn't want to mess up one of the formulas that I had into. Alright. So let me get back to it. I'm sorry about that. So yeah. So this is the player column. Like I said, this is the position that DraftKings has each player listed as. Now this is, like I said, this is the position percentage. This is the main position they play. So if they play, basically usually it's around like more than like 50% they're playing like this position, or say they play 3 different positions or whatever, this is the one that they're mostly playing. Now this is the salary. Obviously it's kind of self-explanatory. Next team, opponent, time played. Now this is something that you'll be able to sort. So if you want to end up playing like a different slate, if there's a turbo slate or a night slate, you can sort it this way and take the times out of the teams that are not playing in that slate. Here's a home and away column. Team total. This is the Vegas odds. This is what the team is implied to score during the night. Opponent total. That's what theirs implied to score. So I brought that in, so you can kind of maybe even try to use this if you want, as if you're betting on games or whatever. Here's the over-under, the spread, and the outcome. Pretty self-explanatory as well, right? Okay, next we're going to go over the team stats. Team stats. Record, their win percentage. Now this is the normal points per game that they score on average. This is the allowed points that this is the points that they allow the opponent to score on average. All right. So then you can even also look. All right. So if the team's implied 120 points, and they average 115 points or whatever like that, they might be in a little bit of a paced up game tonight if they're going to score 5 more points, or they're just facing a pretty team that's not as good or whatever. Now, now they average around letting the opponent score 109 points. You can also look at that as well. Now I also have the difference column in, obviously, which is, all right, if they probably have a winning record if this is a positive number, which obviously they do. They have a 66 win percent. This is OKC we're talking about. Russell Westbrook's the first player on the thing, so that's what I'm talking about right here. Now you can go through the list and see or whatever. Negative 9.1, it's a bad matchup, and that's projected to lose. That's the Knicks. And then obviously I have the same stuff over here for the opponent stats. Now I got the differences in here, like I was just kind of mentioning, like the win percentage, like the difference between the team's win percentage and the opponent's win percentage. That's what I got here. Points per game, 0. So that means they scored the exact amount, that they averaged the exact amount of points per game scored, which is unusual to have that as a 0, but whatever. Now, the difference here is 4.9. That means OKC allows 4.9 less points per game to the opponent, which is shown right here. What I did is I took the difference between the amount they allowed scored and the opponent allowed scored. That's how I get that 4.9, which would be 109.8 minus 114.7. The pace differential. Now, the pace is something that you really want to look at in finding some plays that you like, because the higher the pace team, that means the more possessions, the more chances to score points within the game. So the pace differential between the team and the opponent, 103.4, 102.2. So that means OKC is just a little bit faster than New Orleans in that game. But two fairly high paced teams, so that's probably have one of the higher over-unders of the night. See what I mean? 237. That's where it all comes down to. The higher pace, the more points are going to be scored. So, which higher points scored, more fantasy points scored. All right, now let's move on to the next section here. Next section. This is DVP. Now, the point guard position. Now, this right here is the percentage that player plays at this position. So if you look right here, that'd be 56%. So if you go, obviously 56 is bigger than 54. Rest is black, so he doesn't play those positions. Now if you go back and look, point guard. So he plays the point guard the most, which is referring to this section right here. All right, now point guard DVP rank. Now the point guard DVP, this is where the defense is ranked on DraftKings points scored to that position. So they rank 27th. That's a great matchup. Now, DVP can also be a little skewed depending on strength of schedule, who they've faced. Because say one team faces guys like high-tier guys like Russell Westbrook more times than other teams. Now, Russell Westbrook's going to obviously score more points than other point guards that don't get as involved as he does or score as many DraftKings points. So if one team faces Russell Westbrook 4 times within a year, and another team only faces guys like Russell Westbrook like 2 times in a year, then obviously that's going to make the team that faces Russell Westbrook more not as good towards point guard. So we're going to go over something that I did to kind of adjust that in a second. Saying DVP to league average. Now what I did is I averaged out the amount of DraftKings points per score or whatever like that, and then I divided it by what they let the score, and it's 1.07. So as long as it's over a 1, then they have a good matchup. If you look down at Kemba Walker, if you look at the DVP rank, the rank 16th, right around 1. You know what I mean? 3, it's under 1. Like, so that goes to show that that's just saying like what their team allows compared to the league average. Now this stat right here is what I was just mentioning on how I kind of adjusted the DVP being skewed. Now what I did is I had assigned a value to each player's ORPM, which is the stats. Wow, what's going on? Got Sal Sanders. Send a message right there. But yeah, so the ADV DVP, the advanced DVP, or I kind of call it defense versus player. So what I did is I assigned a value to each guy's ORPM. Now ORPM is how involved they are or how good they are offensively. So what I did is like James Harden, he's pretty much the highest ranked guy in ORPM. So I put him at like a value, I gave it a certain value. So what I do is I take that value and I divide it and I add it to the DVP and then I divide it by 2. Now what this does is, now say you got like a James Harden. Now say he's facing 1 DVP, which is a team that's very good against whatever James Harden's position comes up as, shooting guard, which it is. So, a point guard, because he has been running the point a lot, especially when Chris Paul was out, so it kind of boosted his percentage up. Now, it's what that does is, the ADV DVP is, what that does is, it shows if there's a guy that can be in a smash spot, but if he doesn't play offensive that good, he's not going to be in a smash spot. He's not going to get you tons of points. So, for an example, let's take DeAnthony Melton for Phoenix Suns, point guard. You know what I mean? He could be facing, I believe, the Atlanta Hawks, last in the league against the point guard. Now, D'Anthony Melton, if he's not good at offense, then he's not gonna even if he's got a great DVP matchup, he's not gonna get you like crazy amounts of points. Where if you've got another guy that's like the same price, but he's better at offense, but the DVP's not as good, you might be better off taking him. So that's why I came up with this stat. It kind of mixes and fixes that the DVP being so skewed. Now I did the same thing, shooting guard, did that for every single position, right there. So you can obviously see some guy like right here, Paul George. Paul George got a 37 advantage DVP, so that means he's great at offense, and that means he's got a great matchup right there. Now, I forget how this game ended up turning out, but I honestly think Russell Westbrook ended up having a way better game than Paul George did that night. All right, next section here. The player's stats against the defense allows to that player's position. Now, this goes back to the main position that player plays. Now, I broke it down this way so you can see, like, all right, now say you're trying to pick between two different point guards or two different centers or two different shooting guards. Now, for point guards, some of the key stats that you want to look at are assists, maybe even points, and three-pointers, depending on how many they take a game. Especially assists. Now, say you're looking at two different guys that kind of like the pace is up there for both of them, DVP's up there for both of them. Now, they're priced pretty much around the same, and you're stuck between two of them. Now let's look at the assist column right here, these two columns. So, alright, I can't really see, but alright, now this guy averages this many assists per game. Now, if this is a higher number, that means the team is ranked like closer to the worst in the league. Now right here, Drew Holiday, 29th. Whoever his opponent was, I believe it was, I think OKC was playing New Orleans that night, right? Yeah, that's how it is. So New Orleans has a great matchup for assists. For like Drew Holiday is his main position is, where is it? Point guard, shooting guard. So if you're a shooting guard for New Orleans, you can maybe get a lot of assists that night against OKC. They allow the second most in the league. Now, if you're looking at centers you wanna like check out centers. Like let's find a center. Vucevic. All right. So for rebounds, his matchup is 9th worst in the league, and he averages 11.9 rebounds per game. So not a bad matchup. Now, if you were looking at Anthony Davis, you know what I mean, rebounds. Now look at that. Yeah, he gets more rebounds per game, but his opponent only allows the 7th least amount of rebounds per game. So, you know what I mean? Obviously, it's gonna like look like Vucevic may be getting more rebounds than Anthony Davis in that game. Now, I did that for every single thing. Now, like right here, steals. Russell Westbrook gets 2.3 steals per game. They allow the second most amount of steals. So Russell Westbrook will probably get you some decent amount of points just from steals alone. Now, steals and blocks, there's stats that kind of get overlooked sometimes, but you get 2 points for every steal and every block that your player gets for you that night. Which, if say you have 8 guys and they each get you 2 steals or whatever like that, so that's 4 points. 4 times 8, that's another 32 points in your DraftKings lineup. Now let's move to the next section. Team and opponent stat rankings. Now this is kind of like just like the last section, but instead of going by the player and the defense to that player's position, this is just the team and the opponent. The opponent's like rankings in that. So team points per game. OKC's ranked 4th, and New Orleans is ranked 3rd to last in allowing the most. They allow the 3rd most points in the league. Now, team assists per game, OKC's 21st in the league, and New Orleans allows the 3rd most. Now, so this is where you kind of want to look at the difference. So right here, you got a good matchup, especially if they're like same color. You know what I mean? Same color is kind of where I go the difference. So, no, not even the same color, because right here, this 420 kind of doesn't match up because there's so many teams right there that are above the 20, so that's why that kind of came in as red. But right there, the difference is 16. So that's a good matchup right there. Same with this one, 427. The difference is 23. So you got good matchups there. Now this is where you want to look at. Say you're trying to like decide between two shooting guards. Now your two shooting guards, one of them's got like a matchup. Now they take a lot of threes. So if one has a way better matchup in team rankings and opponent rankings, you're gonna want to pick the guy that has the better matchup within this facility right here. So that's something definitely to end up looking into. I got that for pretty much every stat over here too, especially steals and blocks. Like I said, they kind of go overlook the stats sometimes, but they can be key. Now, next section. All right, player season averages. Now, this is the average DraftKings points they get per season, average minutes, average DraftKings point per minute. That's a key stat that you want to look at and everything, especially if there's guys that are going to be getting minutes bumps. I say there's guys that play like 15 minutes a game and they got like a 1.7 or 1.5 like DraftKings points per minute, and say they're going to play like 25 minutes per that night or whatever. That's a good guy to play right there. They're a point per minute monster. Now, average value to today's price. So look at Anthony Davis. This is the day that Anthony Davis was only $9,000. And so obviously that's his is going to skyrocket. But this is obviously just going to, this kind of gives you an example on where they're priced today compared to like normal. Because like DraftKings tries to usually price guys right around being like, I think I did the math one time and I think it's like their value's like you're paying $5 per every point or whatever, something like that. So it's usually like 5 times value. So like Anthony Davis is skyrocketed up just because he's went down. I don't even know why he's only 9,000, but he's obviously proved he deserves to be even lower than that. Now DeAndre Jordan, he's went down because of the trade and everything, so he's went down. Now Kent Bazemore, he's been out hurt, so that's like another guy. His price is down because once he's came back and he hasn't been seeing as many minutes. Now the next section is the last 5 games, their performances. Now the average DraftKings points, average minutes, average DraftKings point per minute. You know what I mean? This is everything that I've put in together, and also their price difference. See, Anthony Davis, he's $2,000 less than what he was 5 games ago. And Okafor's price, once Anthony Davis was out for those games and everything like that, his price skyrocketed up. Anthony Davis has been back a couple games, so that's dropping Okafor's price down. Last game, same thing. Average, the DK points he got, minutes he played, fantasy points per minute, and the price difference. So look at that. Anthony Davis he's $2,000 cheaper than he was 5 games ago, and $1,300 cheaper than what he was a game ago. Now Trae Young that had that unbelievable game. I think he went like for 54 or something like that, and his price skyrocketed up $1,400. Next is the stats versus opponent. Now some of these guys may not, like right over here, Kadeem Allen. Now he doesn't have, he didn't play like 5 games ago. He didn't play the last game or whatever, so it just doesn't show. And he's been getting a lot of minutes now for New York, so this is kind of like a little skewed depending on like guys sticking in for like injured guys at the time, or if they're seeing new roles or whatever. But this is just like the average versus the opponent that they're playing. It's good to look at, especially if you have guys that are playing their normal minutes, have been playing consistently for the team and everything. You want to see how they performed against their opponent in the past. So this is something good to look at, especially right here. One that's sticking out to me is Jeremy Lamb. This last one, he only played 9 minutes, but he went 1.81. That's kind of sticking out, but he only scored 16.5 points. So I don't know why he was so low, unless he got hurt that game or something. Now, next section is projections. I pulled from 2 different sites. What they're projected to score for DraftKings points, their projected minutes, so what their fantasy point per minute would be, and value. That's what I pulled from the 2 sites. Then I also pulled the floor, what their floor value is, ceiling, and what their ceiling value is. which is something good to look at, especially if you're trying to pick for cash lineup. The floor value, something really good to look at right there. So it looks like Russell Westbrook, Holiday, Steve Adams, and I honestly believe they all. Steve Adams didn't have a good game that game. I think Noel ended up going off, so Steve Adams kind of sat a lot. But see, like this, so some guys right here, like Kadeem Allen, he doesn't have it. I might have to look into the reason why those guys ended up blank, but I'll have all this fixed before the slate does go live and everything. Projected averages. This is me averaging the sites that I pull from and everything. So I have that. See how these are neon green right here? I have the top 10. I have the top 10% of guys shown in neon green. So those are some guys that should definitely jump to the top of your player pool, especially because I'm averaging the two sites projections together, and they're still showing that high. Like Mitchell Robinson down here, he's actually showing a 6.13 value. Now 6 times value is something that you definitely want to be looking at. Alright, so the next section is the goals difference. Now I've done the math in the past and like taking the cash line of cash lineups, and usually it came down to like roughly being like everyone went for 5.7 times their value. So that's why I got the goal at 5.7x, as you can see. And now the average, this is their projection average, what they're averaging difference from their goal. So that's why I got this here. So if it's green, then you're looking pretty good. He's like, see, like this shows right here. John Collins, he was right here. His value is 5.7. That's why he is green from his projection and what his value is. Now I have 6.3x. These are guys good to look at if you want to try to get them into GPP, or even if they're averaging their goal is pretty much like close to the goal, then they can be safe for cash, but maybe more towards the GPP play. Now minutes and usage and involvement bumps. Now I ended up finding out what the usage formula is that sites use, and I ended up doing it on my own from what the players get per game, and then I also added that into the projected use to get a projection usage. Now Charlotte Hornets guys aren't coming up because I have to go fix something within there. Like you can see, Kemba Walker's projected usage isn't coming, Lamb isn't coming, Cody Zeller didn't show up, Mom Williams and Batum. I gotta go take something out because there might be a guy that's in there that's projected like 0 minutes that I just gotta like get out of this formula, and then it would pop up. But then it shows like the difference. So like Paul George, average usage compared to the projected usage, he was supposed to stand out that night, but he ended up having a shitty night. So there's some things that you gotta like take in consideration. Some guys just have an off night. Paul George has been killing it too, you know. Now Jonathan Isaac, he's been crushing it lately. He's been getting the minutes. He's been actually reaching value consistently. So that's why his average usage is kind of low. So that's why it's a huge bump. But he was getting way less minutes in the beginning of the season compared to what he is now. So that's just something that you gotta be aware of, especially if you're going from the season average to what they might be been getting like the last 5 games. So that's just something you gotta be aware of. Now upside. Now what I did for the upside, oh no, I forgot before I jump to that part. Average and involved. Now the usage percentage, all that takes in consideration is field goal attempts, free throw attempts, minutes, teams field goal attempts, and team free throw attempts. That's all the usage percentage takes in consideration. Now, I ended up finding another formula online that's the involvement rate. This is a stat that no other site has included within their projections, their anything. I ended up finding this, and it actually adds in assists, secondary assists, which is another stat that nobody hears of, which is like say I pass to one guy and then he passes to another guy and that guy scores. That's a secondary assist. And so this takes into consideration assists as well. So it just shows how much more they're involved in the offense than just a regular usage stat. So I kind of put that in, they're averaged and they're projected. I got that in there, and like the difference, like what the bump is. So I got that. Upside. Now, upside is what the average minutes of the last 5 games, because like I was kind of just saying, if I were to take just the season average of their minutes, if you got guys that were playing 6 minutes in the beginning of the year, but now there's a guy that's like he played 6 minutes for like the first 3 months of the year, but now in the last like month he's been playing 20 minutes because of an injury, then it's going to skew this stat because he may be averaging 25 minutes a game now, but if you do the whole season average, it may only be 17 minutes. So that's why I took the average minutes of the last 5 games and his projected minutes of today, just to see the difference. Because now the last 5 games, it's kind of a better like average on what he's been playing recently. Now, and then the difference. Now the difference is between the average minutes and projected minutes and the upside. Now the upside, what I did is I took the difference and times that by the average fantasy points per minute. So if you see a guy jumping out, that might be a guy who's a point per minute monster and with a huge increase in minutes that he's going to be getting. Now here's where I put my algorithm into effect. This is something that I'm going to be working on a little bit more. It's been dead nuts on a whole bunch of guys. It's been really good. But I'm going to try to add a couple more stats into it to see if I can get it a little bit pinpoint better. But for the first month that I'm going to be putting this out there, I'm going to let this out there right now. For the first month that I'm going to be supplying you guys my sheet, I am going to be including the algorithm every single time I post my sheet. Now, I am trying to just kick off this little venture that I'm on and trying to supply everybody. But I gotta admit, I got over 100 hours invested in making this spreadsheet and trying to find an algorithm that works and has been successful. And now that I finally have it, and that I've tested it for over the last 2 weeks, and it's actually been hitting pretty consistently, at least the last 2 weeks of the actual slate before this break, I've cashed at least 11 out of the 12 nights. Using cash lineups, like I said, if you use that structure that I said in the beginning, either an 80-20, 70-30, or 60-20-20. 60-20-20 is 60% double ups, 50-50s, 20% 3-mans, 5-mans, and 20% GPPs. That's kind of like one of the structures you might want to go on. It's definitely something that I've learned through a couple of the groups that I've been on and been taught throughout the years of playing DFS, and it's definitely a great approach to playing DFS if you want to play daily nights and want to be actually like consistently successful. So I got a cash algorithm and a GPP algorithm. So these are just like some kind of like things that I included in there to end up getting this, and probably after a month I may end up taking the algorithm part of the spreadsheet out and supplying the rest of it completely for free. And guys that either subscribe to me, want to be generous and send me tips for the amount of work that I've done, I will be sending the algorithm part in to those guys, since they want to show us some appreciation to what I have done here and everything. And it's just, like I said, I've taken some time away from family to end up creating this sheet and trying to help guys out. So it's just something that I feel would be awesome if I could try to just get some recognition, a little bit of compensation. I'm not, like I said, I'm not out here to make $1 million off this thing. I'm here to help the community. But like I said, if you guys want to feel generous enough to send me a tip or subscribe to me on Twitch or whatever like that, you'll definitely end up getting the algorithm. I may even throw some other extra things inside there, like since I even created my own optimized, I may even try to throw in some optimized lines. That's something I'm still tweaking on and everything. Now, this player and team, this is something that I included in just because on the position percentage thing, like they still have guys that have been traded, they still have them listed in those stats in their old team. So what I had to do is I had to combine these things so I can pull the team that they're playing now and get the right percentage they've been playing on the team that they're on now. Now status, this is for guys that if it's just black, that means they're in. P stands for probable, D doubtful, O out. Q questionable. Now this section right here, this is actually a new section that I just added, which is going to be something that I'm going to try to incorporate into my algorithms. Is active team players. Now this is how many team players that are projected to get more than 0 minutes. Now the next is the main positions shared. So this goes back to the main position. So Russell Westbrook, point guard. He shares that same position with the active team players, with his team players, with 2 other people. Now, DraftKings position shared. Now, he's a point guard, shooting guy. He shares that with 1 other person on the team. Inactive players. This is how many players that team has listed out hurt for the year, out hurt for a couple of days, whatever it is. Next column. Inactives averaging over 15 minutes. Because it's like, if there are guys that are out for the year, and everything like that, that's not going to affect anything. Now, inactives averaging over 15 minutes. If they average over 15 minutes per game, and you got 4 or 5 people out, and say this number in active team players is like an 8, they're very short-staffed, and everyone's going to have to play a little bit more increased minutes and everything like that. So you're going to want to look at some of this, because this definitely plays into a factor. Now inactives averaging over 15 minutes at that position. One of them, I remember Schroeder was out this game, so that's the one right here. And I believe Bomba was out, and that's why it's on Vooch. Parker was out, and that's why Walker has that one and everything. So that's just something that you want to pay attention to, because it's one of the main things that you really want to be looking at is known value. Known value is guys that are out, because it's say Walker was out, then a great play is going to be whoever the backup point guard is for Charlotte. You know what I mean? It's because he's obviously going to be a lot cheaper than Walker is, and Walker's minutes and usage has to go somewhere. So that's one thing you definitely want to look at on is the value that we know about and everything. Now, that pretty much sums up my sheet, and it sums up a little bit about just some general facts on how to play and be successful at DFS. If you got any questions, shoot me a message. Be going live again on Thursday and actually start breaking down some slates. Alright. Now, that's about it. So I don't know what else we can discuss over here, but we'll figure something out. If you want to discuss something, send me a message on chat. Send me a message anywhere. Nah, I think I'm going to end this live stream. And I'll see you guys Thursday. Let's get this money.